I'm chairing an advisory committee to the health ministry to advise the government about the strategy for the vaccination against COVID in terms of its scientific aspects, its medical aspects, obviously, but also in terms of communication with the public, the lay people about their understanding and their adhesion to the vaccination program. Yes, indeed, the vaccines against COVID have been developed in an amazingly short amount of time, so less than 1 year, actually. This is remarkable because it's a big success. So it's a unique implementation of a very important life-saving public health measure. Despite the fact that the things were done very quickly, they were done appropriately. So we know that all of the steps from vaccine design, testing in preclinical models, clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, the quality of production in GMP facilities all went very well. So that the regulatory authorities in Europe, the EMA or FDA in the US and MHRA in the UK, they were actually quite happy with both the quality of the product and the results, so that they could very easily deliver the ability to use these vaccines. So this was done everywhere according to emergency procedures, which makes sense given the emergency of the epidemics. And I repeat it, the quality of the results in terms of vaccine efficacy, which was shown to go at levels that were not expected, with more than 95% of efficacy, which is remarkable. And so it was highly justified to provide these emergency authorization, knowing that all of the vaccines, all of the vaccination procedures and results in the clinical trials that were performed are regularly assessed by the regulatory authorities to see whether what was found after 2 months in terms of safety and efficacy was still going on after 4 months, after 6 months, and thereafter. This is not a single shot of authorization, if I may say so. It's a continuous assessment of the quality of the products and the results. Indeed, the main benefit that has been obtained from these vaccination programs is to prevent the vaccinated people to get a bad disease, but actually overall to get a disease, not only a severe disease. This is true that for some of the vaccines, the rate of success in terms of preventing severe disease is higher than preventing disease, whether it's benign or not benign. The next question comes whether the vaccine is able to sterilize the individuals. That is, that if he is in contact with the virus, he will not replicate it in his throat or in her throat, so that this person will not contaminate other people. So we do not have yet a full answer to this question. Nevertheless, at least for the RNA vaccines, at least the assessment of the efficacy in terms of preventing carriage of the virus in the throat by systematic PCR analysis, that was done in Israel for the first 600,000 people who have been vaccinated compared to non-vaccinated people. And it is shown that the carriage in the throat, or in the nose more precisely, of these vaccinated people was much reduced, which strongly suggests that indeed, at least with that vaccine, this is the mRNA Pfizer vaccine, this vaccination procedure likely prevents transmission at a very high rate. We do not have yet similar data for vaccines based on adenoviral vectors. We will see, but the first results with the mRNA vaccines are very encouraging. I will tell him or her that given the risk of morbidity and that the virus to vaccinate gives you the chance to not be infected, so not to take a risk, not to die. The analysis between the benefit, what I just said, prevention of a disease, prevention of a bad disease, prevention of the risk of dying, is much, 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 much higher of any risk that can maybe be associated with the vaccine. There is always a risk with a medical practice, but this risk is extremely low. So it's much lower than having the risk of dying of a car accident. I will show you something which I find significant. This is in English, so it's good. So I got this mug. It says, "Thanks, science." This is exactly what you are talking about. I won't say that everyone in the society will have such a mug, but I think many people have realized that without science, today we will be much more troubled. That science has provided the information on the virus, on the disease, a little bit about therapy, and very much so about vaccination. So I would probably this is good news for the future that citizens of a given society have realized that society needs science to take the right decision. Maybe it's a good thing because it comes in a time where it was going in the opposite way very often. The scientific speeches and intervention were not that well received. So perhaps this will change a little bit the mind, not only of the people, but if it is changing the mind of the people, it will change the mind of the politicians. So overall, at the end of the day, the decision. So let's hope, I'm carefully optimistic, but that may help a little bit in the years to come, that to have science better placed in the way decisions are taken